Let's bring in the panel. Liberal Senator for South Australia Alex Antic and the LNP's Senator out of Queensland, James McGrath. Gents, welcome. I just went through this issue with Andrew Hastie. The RSL in Victoria are calling on state and federal governments to help them fund ANZAC Day commemorations. They're launching an appeal to raise just over $800,000 because that's what they need to run these events. The PM was asked about this today, but he didn't give anyone much of an answer. Have a listen.
They're looking for funding. Would that be something the federal government would chip in for?
Look, I can just say that the RSLs play a really important role in local communities, and it's something that's a source of pride that wherever you go in Australia, there are memorials and events.
Alex, I know what it costs to run his office, and it's more than the $1 million that the RSL needs. I know what it costs to run the lodge in Kirribilli House. You'd spend more on that on wine than the poor old RSL needs to run Anzac Day. And I also make the point, we checked NIDOC, this is the Aboriginal week that we have. We spend $3 million on grants. That's 3 times what the poor old RSL needs. Again, why on earth, it's chicken feed $1 million to the federal government. Why on earth are they forced to have to run an appeal to fund Anzac Day?
Yeah, well, Peter, I mean, the answer to that is because this government is horribly out of touch. I mean, if you asked any person, man, woman or child on the street whether they thought that was reasonable for the RSL to have to do that, the answer would be no. Yet at the same time, the Prime Minister seems to be floundering with almost unprepared for the answer there in that clip you showed. We've also got to remember that when it comes to finding money for causes that suit them, this government are world class. They have taken something like $450 million out of Australian taxpayer pockets to pay for their failed voice campaign, $1 billion on a quantum computer, and I think something like $600,000 on one of Bill Shorten's speechwriters as well. So, you know, they can find the money when they want to. It's just that it's got to be something which suits them and their cause, and this does not seem to be. It's tragic, and the RSL, I hope, get all the help they need because they're critical days for us, Anzac Day.
You're not wrong. Let's go to citizenship, James McGrath. You know a bit about campaigning. So the citizenship ceremonies now have gone through who's invited and who's not invited and the weak excuses from the Prime Minister. But what about the fact that from November, the AEC is required to be there and hand out forms to sign you up, not just obviously as a citizen, that's been done, but to get you on the electoral roll as quick as possible?
This just shows what the Labor Party are up to. They know they've got the fight of their lives, and the 4,500 people that were pushed through last week, the only surprising thing about that is it wasn't the full 50,000 on the waiting list. We've got a cost of living crisis, we've got a housing crisis, and Tony Burke is bringing the values of Sussex Street, i.e. Labor Party headquarters, to our citizenship ceremonies. He's diminishing and demeaning the joy of becoming an Australian. He's turning those ceremonies into something that's basically a de facto Labor Party branch meeting, and he should be ashamed of what he's doing.
James, this says to me, though, they're playing the politics of every single vote. They know some of these marginals could come down to single figures, double figures maybe, you know, less than 100 votes, and they are doing everything they can, I think, because their internal polling is probably worse than we're seeing publicly.
Totally, Peter. What you're seeing with the Labor Party and how they're spending money, not just over the last couple of weeks, but over the last few months, shows that they're going to try and buy the election, but also they're going to try and divide Australians by picking groups off against other people and failing to miss middle Australia, missing the cost of living crisis that's impacting all of us. The Labor Party is pure politics. They can be very good at campaigning, they can be very good at politics, but they're terrible at policy delivery, they're terrible at government, and what we're seeing at the moment is a weak Prime Minister who is getting his ministers to go out there and play a pure politics. Just in estimates today, Penny Wong took so many questions on notice, refused to answer questions about the alleged caravan terror incident, and accused Michaelia Cash and I of playing politics, when what we were trying to do is get the answers that Australians wanted. This coming election campaign is going to be a grubby one, and it's because we've got a weak Prime Minister.
Yes, I don't think they'll be around to give you those questions on notice. They will hit a caretaker period, as we all know.